speaker, he has shared words of wisdom in speaking engagement throughout the Philippines. He has founded 4 companies, including an intriguingly named SEO hacker. He has also worked with big names in public speaking, including Francis Kong, Chinky Tan, Randall Thompson, Anthony Pangilinan, Manny Pangilinan, and former presidents Joseph Ejercito Estrada and Fidel Ramos. With no further ado, let me introduce to you our next speaker, Sean C.
We're talking about agile leadership. Yes, the agile word there is something about programming. You see, I studied IT in LaSalle. I graduated, not with flying colors. And I will get to my story a little later on. But first, to introduce myself further, I have authored a book I published 2 years ago. I do have around 80 copies, which I'm willing to sign later, but that's for a later time na, no? I'm a serial entrepreneur. I founded 4 tech companies. The last one being not so tech. It's a co-working space in BF Parañaque. SEO Hacker is my baby. I founded it over 8 years ago. Started as a freelancer, a one-man team. Believe it or not, I started with a capital of 1,300 pesos. Now it's generating millions in revenue per month. And it's still fully owned by me. We have 40 people in-house. What do we do? SEO. Anyone here who is not familiar with SEO? Everyone's familiar? Okay, I'll reverse the question. Is everyone here who's familiar with SEO? Raise your hands. A lot. Okay. So some people just don't want to raise their hands. If I have one rule in all my talks, is this: honesty. If I ask you a question, you raise your hand if it's true. And at the same time, you can expect the same honesty from me. Is that good? Not so much? More food? Yes? Okay. Good. So for the benefit of those who are not so familiar with SEO, it's an acronym for Search Engine Optimization. In layman's term, I manipulate search results. That's my job. To who do I manipulate search results for? For companies. Most of my clients are local companies, enterprise-level companies here. Businessmen, politicians, etc., etc. We also develop websites, do site speed optimization, site security, and everything digital marketing. My second company, Queries, it's a software as a service company. I'm sure you're very familiar with software as a service. Anyone here from software as a service teams or projects? We have a couple. Fantastic. Okay. Software as a service, usually it's a monthly recurring or annual recurring revenue business. Queries, you can imagine it like Spotify or Netflix, wherein we pay every month to use the system. I don't sell entertainment like Netflix and Spotify does. I sell a microservice. It's a lot more boring, but people all over the world pay for that functionality. Thirdly, Sigil, it's a digital creative agency. We do social media marketing, PowerPoint, branding, design. And lastly, again, Workplace is a co-working space in BF Parañaque where I work and live. By the way, before I continue, does anyone here not understand Tagalog? You will give me a very hard time tonight. Everyone understands Tagalog? Yes? You sure? Okay, I don't want anyone being left out, but fantastic. So I'll be speaking Taglish na lang. Here are some of the publications that have featured me and my work. I'm sure you're familiar with some of them. Most of these are digital publications over the web, especially those you're not familiar with. I hear some laughter, and I am about to redeem myself. I know that there is one logo there you are very familiar with, men especially. I am not in the centerfold. And it's a wholesome interview that they did. They asked me, so why is SEO the hot job now for millennials? And I had to answer that. That's September 2017 issue. I was with Jose Marichan. I assure you, it's fully wholesome. These are some of the clients I work with, and I have worked with in the past. One example is the generics pharmacy. What are their keywords online? If you search for gamot sa sipon, sa ubo, sa lagnat, trangkaso, they're #1. That's my job. If you search for Drugstore Philippines, not a keyword making money for them, but it's a prestige keyword. In short, medyo pangyabang, no? Drugstore Philippines, they're #1. That's also my work. So for the other companies you see here, Toyota, Tagaytay Highlands, you can just imagine the keywords I manipulate for them. Some of them are luxury homes in Tagaytay, weddings in Tagaytay. For Toyota, it's Toyota Innova, price list, Toyota Vios, Toyota Fortuner now here in the Philippines. And other clients. All right, now that you know a little bit more about me and what I do, let's get on to the topic. Question, and remember my one and only rule, honesty. Is leadership important? Good. Is leadership difficult? Good. Why? Why is it important? And why is it difficult? In all my talks about leadership, and I've done quite a handful, I ask people this question. Is it important? Resounding yes. Everyone in the room agrees. And I ask them why. They cannot tell me why. They cannot seem to extrapolate. And Einstein says if you cannot explain it simply, it's because you really don't understand it. A lot of people don't really understand leadership. We just agree it's important. Period. End of story. That's it. Don't ask me to be a leader. And that's the problem in our day and age. Who among you here wants to be successful? Okay. For those who are not raising your hands, it's okay. I will now consider you to be desiring of failure for yourself. No, but now I'm sure everyone, right? Is leadership important to achieve success? Who here says, yes, I think leadership is important for me to be successful? Okay. A lot. You see, leadership is not just about leading other people. It is first and foremost leading yourself, leading myself. If we cannot do that, if we cannot stick to our diet, stick to exercising every day, we cannot lead ourselves, how are we supposed to lead others? Leadership is important to success. The foremost authority in leadership in the United States, John Maxwell, says leadership is simple. It is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. If you can influence others, you're a leader to them. Agree? Influencing people nowadays, I don't know if you noticed, is hard. It's a lot harder than years ago. And this is because technology has increased our awareness of things. In hindsight, it has also increased our skepticism of a lot of things. Yes or no? A lot of people now, they don't believe anything at face value. We will say, I want to see it to believe it. Right? We are skeptics. This is the generation that has been the most skeptical in all generations combined. That's because there is a curse for knowledge. Knowing more does not necessarily always mean good. We don't place our faith on something and someone as easily as we used to. That means influence is earned, which now in turn means since leadership is influence, leadership is earned. And it's not easy. Leadership is difficult because it stems from who you are. My mom used to tell me, you know, Sean, you're only as good as who you are at home. Whoever you are outside of our home, it doesn't matter. It's a facade. It's something you put up to deal with society. But you're only really as good as you are at home. Is that something you agree with? Not a lot of people agree with that. In my life, it's quite true. This is why I make sure who I am at home is also the person I am outside of my house. Leadership stems from who you are and how authoritative you are in what you do and say. People are skeptics now not just because we know more. It is because we have seen people who say one thing and yet do another. If you are the same, people will not believe you. You will not have any authority over their lives, diminishing your influence, therefore diminishing your leadership. This is a picture of a restroom. Is it a nice restroom? This is probably a far cry of what you have in the office. If I put you in this restroom for 2 hours, you would probably be so mad at me, right? This is my dad's restroom, taken 2 years ago, summer. You see, Filipino-Chinese, if you can tell, I'm Chinese. They say when you're Filipino-Chinese and you live in the Philippines, your family is in one of either two businesses, textile or hardware. My dad is in hardware. This is where I work since elementary. During summer, I'm the firstborn son. I'm the eldest of 3 siblings. And my dad would make me carry back-breaking loads of hardware, wheelbarrows, long pipes, boxes of nails, cement. It's not uncommon for the eldest son to help out during summer for their parents if they're Chinese. So I was the victim. Kidding aside, I knew the value of hard work. I knew the value of money. I was paid 20 pesos per week for this labor that I did. Case in point, I was not born rich. I want you to know that before I move forward. My dad had to also work when he was in elementary. His dad left him, and he had to feed his family. My mom, during recess and lunch, would drink from the faucet of her school, poso, tubig poso, because they had no money to buy lunch or recess. That's how dirt poor my parents were. And when I grew up, my dad saved enough money to take me through college. I did not graduate with flying colors. In fact, I failed 28 units. If you don't know how much that is, that's a lot. That's around 500,000 pesos. My dad, of course, was furious. And this is because of my addiction to computer games during that time. I don't know if you're familiar, but I was part of this group now known as Mineski. And I was so hooked to Dota. Because of that, I knew there was no way. I'm sorry, by the way, I applied for an international company. I'm sorry, it's not Accenture. I didn't know that Accenture was already open here in the Philippines during that time. I applied for an international company. The only company I have ever applied for, actually. And during the interview room, I still remember, there were 3 people seated on the other side of that long table. Dimly lit room, carpeted floor, very nice office. You know the first thing they asked me? Please show us, Mr. C, your transcript of records. And right then I knew I was screwed. There was no way a guy like me with 28 failing marks would get into a company like HP. There were so many graduates, Mapua, FEU, UP, Deneo, Lasal. Why would they get a guy like me? But miracles happen. I don't know what happened during that time, if they were hungover, or if they were high, or if they mixed my resume with someone else, but I got in. A virtually unemployable guy like me got in. Don't know how that happened. I got in March of 2010. 2010 was the year I graduated college. I'm 30 now. I quit after 5 months. This is not because HP is a bad company. They treated me very well. They're a very good company to work for. But SEO Hacker was growing, and I had to make a decision. You see, I worked from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That was my shift. And I had a friend who I was staying over with because I live in Parañaque. The office was all the way in Ortigas, sa likod ng SM Mega B. Layo. I would ride this is no joke, tricycle, the jeep, the bus, the MRT, and then walk 15 minutes to get there. One way. Obviously, yung pauwi, it's the same. That's my commute. So I stayed at a friend's place. Unfortunately, his shift was 3 p.m. to 12 midnight. Ako nagpasok sa kanya sa HP, and sabi ko, sige, sabay na lang ako sa'yo pauwi. So, 6 p.m., my shift ended, I would eat dinner at Mega Mall. 7 p.m., I'd come back, and I'd study SEO and experiment on it until 12 midnight. That was my life every day for 5 months. I applied everything I learned to this blog called God in You. I'm a born-again Christian. I would write about my Christian journey in this blog. Some of you are wondering, I do attend CCF in Alabang. So everything in this blog was about my faith, my journey in the faith. That's it. And then I checked my stats. How many readers were coming in my site? And it was depressing. Only 3 people. And the saddest part, I know who those three people are: my brother, my mother, and my sister. So I asked Google, Google, how do I increase my readers? You know what Google told me? SEO. Read SEO. Experiment SEO. During that time, there was no one website authoritative on SEO. I had to rummage through so many forums. And I don't know if you've ever done that. Forums now are a lot nicer. During that time, ang gulo. It was so messy. There were people saying this, people saying that. Some of them got me penalized by Google. You know, when you get a Google penalty, either you get de-ranked, you're on the 5th page, 6th page, 7th page, or they delist you altogether. Meaning, even if you type the domain name on Google, you don't get found anymore. Google still does that if you try to exploit their system. So I tested everything, and everything that worked, I journaled in this website, seo-hacker.com. You see, my company started as a blog. I didn't start a company thinking, papangalan ko siyang hacker. No, it started as a blog. And because it stuck to a lot of people, yun na rin yung ginamit ko for my brand name. People started to read, and then they started to comment, and then they started to share, gaining me more readers. Companies started to set meetings with me because we rank for keywords. Arguably, the hardest in the country is SEO Philippines, because all of us SEO companies are fighting for that keyword. And as we know, search engines, only first page matters. No one goes to the second page now. Heck, no one even goes to the 5th to 10th results now because of mobile. Hirap magbukas ng maraming tab eh. Hirap magsara ng maraming tab eh. So if you're on the second page, you're invisible. You don't matter. How many slots as the first result? Ilang first honor ang meron para kay Google? Isa lang. Some schools, di ba? Dalawang first honor, tatlong second honor. With Google, it's the top 10. It's either you're number 1, number 2, number 3, that's it. It's absolute. I rank for SEO Philippines. You can check it in your mobile phone. I'm number 1 right now. Arguably the hardest keyword in the country. This is where I get most of my clients. They just come inbound, they set a meeting with me. What else? Publications started to cite my work, and that's what I showed you earlier. All of those publications, they cite SEO Hacker. People who were interested in SEO, especially during that time that there was no authority, listened. And because they listened, I had influence. Did you notice I explained the entire thread of leadership to you in that story? Just there. Leadership is all about influence. How do you make people listen? How do you make your peers listen? It takes a lot of hard work, intentional practice, research, and diplomacy. You miss out on any one of these, it's not going to work for you. You can tell me, Sean, di naman importante in diplomacy eh. You see, diplomacy is all about making things a win-win for people. What you say is just as important as how you say it. If you don't know how to say things well, it's not gonna matter. You do hard work, you have good intentions, but if you flunk at diplomacy, people will still not listen to you. You have to phrase things in such a way that it's a win-win. Colossians says, whatever you do, do it with all your heart, as though you're working for the Lord and not for human masters. This is probably one of the most used verses in Bible studies at the office, but it's quite true. Passion, one of the most used bywords of our day and age, isn't it? You see this word more often in Facebook than arguably any other word. What does it really mean? A lot of people will tell you passion is important for business. I argue cash flow is the most important thing in business. But what makes passion so important? What does passion really mean? Ever heard of the movie Passion of the Christ? Why is it entitled that way? You see, a lot of people like it for its positive senses. When you say that word, it sounds so positive. But in reality, here's the other meaning. Martyrdom, sacrifice. Words people don't like. And this is why the movie was titled Passion of the Christ, because he was martyred in the movie. This is its real definition. You look at it in your dictionaries, if you ever use a dictionary still, or you look at it in Wikipedia, this is where the definition comes from. I was willing to suffer for, believe it or not, getting married at 25 years old. That was a big goal for me. I didn't have a high school sweetheart or college. I just had faith. Lord, I want to get married at 25. Wala pa yung babae, pero okay lang, mag-ipon na ako. Diba? How was I gonna do it? My parents were... Some of you are reacting here. I don't know if I hit a nerve. I'm sorry. Right? I'm innocent. Don't shoot me. Right? My parents are pure Chinese. I know for certain that wedding is gonna be a big wedding. There was no way I'm gonna have a 100-person wedding, even if I wanted to. My wedding turned out to be 500 bucks in Bellevue Hotel. It's a 5-star hotel in Alabang. I live in BF Parañaque. I got married at 25. Was able to buy my first 350 square house in BF Homes last year. 2 years ago, sorry, 28. I was willing to suffer for those things. Because we only live once, right? I don't want to get old before I enjoy things that I want to enjoy and make my kids suffer for it because now I don't have money and they have to support me. What I want is when I'm old, they want to keep bunking in my house because everything's for free. That's what I want, right? And I'm willing to suffer for that. Faith is important. Sharing it is important. And you have to share it freely. Something that I was willing to suffer for, getting married at 25, I know a lot of people would say, that's too young. Well, it's relative, honestly. Some people get married earlier. Some people get married later. Doesn't matter. You have your goals, I have mine. I shared that goal in my God in You blog. I gave it freely and inspired people to do the same. How can you share to others if they don't want what you have? And for a lot of us, this is the case. Because they don't want to be like you. This is the problem a lot of potential leaders face. Why do I say potential leaders? Because all of us here, honestly, are potential leaders. I have not seen one person who cannot be a leader at all. Anyone in all walks of life can influence somebody, if only they were willing to suffer for something and share their faith for free. And you yourself must be an example to them. This is Titus in the book of Titus in the Bible. By doing good works of every kind, let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Unfortunately and sadly, even teachers at church fail at this. Learning so far? Everyone with me? Di pa naman inaantok? Okay, good. You see, when you lose authority because you don't practice what you preach, and people listen, and people look at you. You may not know it, but people do. And when you don't do that, you lose authority. And you're someone who doesn't matter anymore. When you want to lead someone, when you want to lead people, you have to be someone who matters to them. I argue this in every digital marketing talk I give. This is because Facebook, right, is the most used app in the Philippines. A lot of people use Facebook for what? Spamming, selling. So sad. To use social media, right? You have to be someone who matters to them. Because why we use social media is because of memories that matter to us. Not to read spam, not to read salesy posts. That takes authority, which turns to influence. And I would need the whiteboard now. Can someone assist me with the whiteboard, please? Anyone? Okay, I would have to help out. Oh, sige. Do you have the marker? Do you have the marker? Okay, while they are doing the whiteboard, I want to ask you a question. And you shout me the answer na lang, and I'll remember it. What for you is the picture of a wonderful leader? I'll start. Integrity. He has to have integrity. What else? Just shout it. What else? Stewardship. Good. What else? Vision. Good. What else? Competence. What else? More. Sorry? Collaboration. Good. What else? What's that? Good looks? Appeal. Okay. This is a new one in my record. Anyone else? Are we satisfied with this? Is this the picture of a wonderful leader for us? Or is there more? Humility. Fantastic. What else? Yes, at the back. Servant. Good. What else? Anyone else? Is this it? Is this everything? Ano pa? Malasakit. Good. Or compassion, right? In English. What else? Creative. Fantastic. Creative. What else? Sorry? What's that? Good? Good follower. This table? Executes? Did I hear executes? Executes. Okay, good follower and knows how to execute. What else? Are there more? Are there more? A lot more. What else?
Crazy ideas.
Good. Crazy ideas. What else?
Storyteller.
Engaging storyteller. Caring. Good. Can I add hardworking? Okay. Listener. All right. We have a lot. Good. So, we can say these are the qualities of a wonderful leader. Yes or no? Agree? We all agree? Some of these we are naturally good at, like humility. No, I'm just kidding. No. Humility in this table. Some of these we have to work on, right? Actually, if we think about it, a lot of these we have to work on. Agree? Here's the sad news. Every day we are not these things, you and I, we're failing as a leader. And people in our organization can smell blood in the water. You see, leadership is not hard. Leadership is impossible. It is impossible. This is why a lot of people stumble when they see someone so great make one mistake. Some mistake lang. For all the good they've done, just one mistake, that's it. Leadership is impossible. You have to be able to suffer for something you truly believe in. The good news is, leadership is agile, and you can work on it in your spare time. It's not a long, hard development that will be launched after everything has been QA'd. If this was the case, we'd be talking about waterfall leadership right now, but we're talking about agile leadership. You learn, you practice, yet you might fail, sometimes experience bugs along the way, but one thing that's important is you just keep shipping. What does this mean? It means, when you study leadership, hindi mo kailangan magbabad, 4 na taon, leadership lang aaralin ko. That will not work. How I built myself up in terms of authority, you remember? Every night, after office hours, in my spare time, I would build my authority. It's not a long amount of time. It's not 8 hours. 6 p.m. to 12 midnight, that's it. I would read books by Seth Godin, which is America's #1 marketer right now, John Maxwell, Jim Collins. These guys, they have taught me how to start and run my business, manage and lead people well. Things that I didn't learn in college. Again, leadership is influence. You influence yourself to do the hard things. Once people recognize you as a leader, have the guts to take on opportunities. When SEO Hacker was growing, and I mentioned that I quit after 5 months, I had 2 major decisions. Number 1 was to quit and focus on building the business. It was scary. It was risky. Or number 2, why do that when I can stay and enjoy my steady income, have a secure life, climb the corporate ladder? I chose the riskier route because I believed something that I was willing to sacrifice for. Goals in life, hard goals at certain age. That's what I wanted. Both of these opportunities will only knock once. A lot of people say, no, opportunities don't knock once. I want to debunk that. They really do only knock once. And if you don't take it and you hear a knock again, that's another opportunity altogether. Most of the time, it's a lesser opportunity. Most of the time. So, I worked like crazy to make SEO Hacker work. Remember, I only had 1,300 peso in capital. That's all I had. I cannot fail. This might be where you are right now. Could be another position, another project, or it could be a program like this, which you are invited to. But you need to put on a little more hard work, a little more faith. By the way, I just want to say congratulations to all of you who are here. You have made one heck of a sacrifice. Because I know how much hard work you have to give in order to mentor people. So, cheers to all of you. When you have developed your authority and influence, take on these kinds of opportunities. And hard work will be quite forced on you, and you have to make it work. If your leadership gap increases, people start to listen. You have authority, you have influence. When you have that, it's a positive cycle. More opportunities will knock. Your life will change for the better, as it did with mine. You don't need to work on your authority 24/7. You don't need to work on it for a very, very long time. If that was the case, we'd be talking about waterfall leadership. I did mine for after office hours, built it in 3 years. It was a sprint for me. After the 3 years was over, a lot of companies started citing me. I got a lot of meetings. Believe it or not, way back 2010, when companies asked me, hey Sean, can we meet with you? We need SEO. Can you come here to our office? Sila na nagsabi, we need SEO. When I get there, you know the first thing they ask me? Can you explain what SEO is again? That's how unknown SEO was during that time. It was unheard of. This year, I get a lot of inquiries online, get like 3 to 5 inquiries a day. They all know what SEO is. And a lot of big companies this year, I have a lot on my pipeline right now, big companies, they all know what SEO is. They all know why it's important. They all know why they need to get in the game now, because SEO takes time. Harvesting the fruits of the seeds I planted during those first 3 years up to today. If you're doing it for more than 5 years, you're doing something wrong. You see, my philosophy in business and hard work is, if you're doing something for a prolonged period of time, you're doing it wrong. You sprint 3 to 5 years. After that, stability comes. When stability comes, start to scale. If you don't scale, you're gonna die off because it's a very competitive world. And the good news about this is, leadership that's agile, it gets easier. You increase your authority, you take on more opportunities. Then what? Then you increase your authority, then you take on more opportunities. It's a positive cycle. It gets easier. So to wrap it up, life is about sharing your faith. Something you're willing to suffer for to others and share it freely. People only listen to people with authority. And authority is very fragile. You make one mistake, it's gone. Building authority requires a lot of these things. Hard work, intentional practice, research, and diplomacy. By the way, if you're not familiar with intentional practice, hindi ito yung, sige magpa-practice ako kasi may spare time ako ngayon eh. Intentional practice is making time and protecting that time, doing that something that you believe in. When I was doing SEO, that's what I did. I made sure this time for SEO, nothing else. No social media, no computer games. No nothing, just intentional practice. Authority increases your influence, which increases your leadership, which increases your opportunities. Take guts to seize opportunities that matter. You see, leadership is not a long, hard development that you need to ship after everything's been QA'd. Leadership is agile. You don't need to work on it 24/7. You just need to keep shipping. So that's it. I hope you learned something new. Thank you for your time, and I hope, am I on time? Do we have time for Q&A? Do we have time for, no, not anymore? Okay. So that's it. I hope you learned something. Thank you very much for your time. Again, I have my book out there, and I'm inviting some of you who would want to get your own copy. What is the book about? It's about my journey as an entrepreneur. I graduated 28 units. My life looked very bleak because I was unemployable. There was no way someone will hire me. I pretty much had no choice but to start my own venture. How I did it, how I knew it was time to hire my first people, how they turned, my dream team turned against me, did a mutiny, how I dealt with it. So there's also management lessons there, leadership lessons there. It's my journey, life journey. It's fully colored, published on high quality white paper, and it's the first edition. So how much does it cost? Online it costs $650, and I don't sign the online orders. Here, I'm making it available for you for $500, and I will sign it. If you have questions, or you want to tell me something, how this has helped you or open up some perspective, please do email me. This is my personal email address. I look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you, Sean, for those compelling words.